Hello to everyone who is attending. I'm happy to have you today. My name is Etienne. I am a solution engineer at DataGalaxy. I've been here for almost 3 years now, and I'm also a doctor in metadata management. So I do have quite some insights about the overall metadata world, and now that we like to call it now context and semantic context in the AI era, but all the same. So I'm here today to talk to you for this monthly webinar about this pretty interesting subject here, which is big data is dead, long live smart data. Because of course, everyone is aware that there has been now for 10 or 15 years now, probably even more than that today, this big data revolution. But so we have more and more and more data. And actually, this is going to be my first topic for this presentation. So we're going to have a few topics here, and let's start with just this overall presentation of why is smart data becoming critical instead of big data. Then we're going to talk about critical data elements, CDEs serving your business. We're then going to have a little demonstration of DataGalaxy and how it can answer your problems on this topic. And then we're going to have a bit of time for question answers and a conclusion. So I like to start the webinars with some figures and trends to try to, if it's even possible in this case, you're going to understand why I say that. To try to understand really the volume and the trend that is going in the data world. So you're familiar with this. This is not a surprise. There has been a data explosion in the last 10 to 15 to even 20 years. So some numbers, 90% of the world's data has been generated in the last 2 years alone. So that is really insane. It really means it's more than an exponential, actually. It's all the data keeps being produced now compared to what was in the past. It is, and it's totally exponential. And so, to be more precise, since 2010, the volume of data created worldwide has multiplied by more than 70 times. It's in terms of percentage, it would be completely insane to say that. So yeah, of course, there is this data explosion. We have more and more and more and more data, and it keeps piling on, it keeps adding up. So what are the consequences for the businesses today? So again, the IDC analysts say that the data volumes roughly doubles every 4 years. So we've had the entire volume, for example, up to 2022 in the history of mankind, and then from 2022 to 2026, it doubled. So it was the same amount, and it's gonna continue doing so. So it's really exponential. And of course, it is a clear sign of the growing pressure on systems and teams, because we talk a lot about AI now, of course, but this trend, this data explosion, has been an issue for a long time. Actually, this is why after this, how can I say it, this dominance era of the BI and the relational databases, the volume was becoming too big, and we had to find new solutions. More, for example, with the data lake approach and with Hadoop and HDFS, for example, and the compute, and then the serverless era, the cloud era, etc. So there has been a lot of pressure on the systems, and we consistently found new technical solutions to solve this issue and to try to bridge the gap. But the data just keeps coming, keeps being produced. And so this pressure is not only on the systems, not only technological, it's also on the people in the teams, of course, that work with this data, because there are new challenges. So we can wrap this up, I mean, the figures and trends, by saying that more data is created every day today than the total amount of data produced in all of history a decade ago. So it means that every day, so today and then tomorrow and then the day after and then Friday, we're going to produce as much data as everything that was produced up to 2016. It's it's even hard to imagine with the human mind because it's so exponential. But this just means that the data is everywhere and in a huge volume. The thing is, in all this volume of data with such a mountains, volcanoes, call it ocean, call it whatever you want of data. Do you know what data is vital? Because with so much amounts of data, there has to be a lot of it that is not vital, that is not necessary, that is not going to change your business or is not going to impact your business a lot if you don't have this data or if you don't use it. The thing is, it's difficult to identify what data is vital versus what isn't is in that entire ocean. Is like trying to find the perfect spoon of water in an ocean. So we see at DataGalaxy and all the experience we have with plenty of customers that we work with, we see three universal pain points. There's too much data. Everything cannot be governed. It's just the volume is too much. Hence creates a big lack of trust in the data and the outputs of the data. With the AI wave now, we talk a lot about the hallucinations of AI, the trust of the output of an AI agent, for example. If the agent doesn't have the proper context or the proper guidelines and so on, can you really trust what it produced? Well, it's the same. It's the same issue with data itself. So it's the same issue whether it's the output of an AI or if it's the input of an AI. It's the same issue. You don't really trust the data because there is just so much. You don't even know which one is relevant and which one is not. And then ultimately, there is a lot of time and energy that is wasted just trying to swim against the current and trying to make sense of everything here. And then it brings me to the big data paradox. And I remember this is something that I addressed a lot even during my PhD thesis, which was a while ago. The more data we have, the less clarity we have. Actually, it's actually even a human bias, if we can say that. If you give someone 50 options for a choice, this person is not really going to feel satisfied by picking one option out of the 50 options. Versus if it's a 2 or 3 option choice, the person is going to feel more satisfied. It's a very human cognitive bias, and the same happens with data. We have so much that we don't even know what is happening anymore. And to be a little bit more concrete than that, what happens within a company is that you can have 10 different definitions of what a customer means. If you're in the marketing team, it's maybe not going to be the same definition as if you're in the sales team. It's not going to be the exact definition as if you're in the finance team, and so on. You also have duplicates of data everywhere. So a part of it is normal, a part of it is less normal. What I say normal is because now with data, usually you're going to have one of the architectures that are really trending is the medallion architecture with the bronze layer, silver layer, gold layer. So there has to be data replication at some point. You have the raw data, then you have the data that is currently being processed, maybe the delta time and so on, and then you have the curated semantic layer, and then you can have all your reporting on top of it. So duplicates can happen, and I would even say that they should happen in some ways. But the problem is when you have always the same needs for data and you have users asking for an extract of your customer list because they want to send a campaign or whatever. And so you do an extract and it's lost. You do another extract, it's lost. And so then you have so much duplicates. And when you try to make sense of everything, you don't even know what data set, what's the purpose of the data set, what is it addressing as an issue, et cetera, et cetera. Another problem, of course, is that business people are lost. Of course, when you're a data engineer and you know exactly what pipeline you're working on which table and which system, it's easier. But when you're a business and you don't see data as something technical, but data as one of the ingredients that is going to help you for your day-to-day job, it's different. And with so much, you don't even know where to start. And then ultimately, the governance is just impossible to do at scale. There's just too much data, and you can't govern everything. So today, with all being said, today the focus is no longer on big data, but on smart data, because we want to really focus on the essential data that really brings you value. That is really the most important part, what brings you value. And then that value data, basically, you want to manage it and you want to govern it. So you solve all the big data paradox issues. You can govern it because it's not too much. You can actually onboard business people. You try to reduce duplicates as much as possible. And if you have to do duplicates, they're explaining, everyone knows why. And then if you have different definitions, then it's really clear in your glossary. And otherwise, you have one definition for every team. So what we are looking for with the smart data approach is more clarity, but less data. So we have to sort out the noise and try really to find the gold nugget in this mess of all the data. So now let's try to have more of a pragmatic approach to say, okay, how now do I approach within my company? How do I approach the smart data way, and how can what we call the CDEs, so the critical data elements, how can they serve my business? So we provide a very pragmatic approach here to try to help our customers, or basically any kind of company that would like to make sense of their smart data. And so how does it work? Well, first of all, this is really something that, in my opinion, has been forgotten so much in the data sphere overall. And just we always forget that everything has to start with the use case. A business specific identification of a use case and support strategic initiatives. So every time you want to do something with your data, you need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What pain am I trying to reduce or to solve? What issue am I trying to address? What value is it going to bring me? Those questions are essential, and this is really the strategy part. And this, in my opinion, has been a lot of the time forgotten because this is something that we see currently with the AI boom. We see that there is so much hype with the new super powerful models. Just lately, there is the Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos, I think it's pronounced this way, and even the newest GPT model. Just they promise this power and stuff. Okay, but and everyone wants to go on this, and everyone wants to ride this wave, and everyone wants to, of course, it's a technological revolution. It's something that could and will probably revolution the entire industry and the entire economy. But yes, but as of today, it's still something that is growing, and you always have to remind yourself, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve besides following the hype? I know it's interesting to want to do that, but what are you trying to do? And it's the same with the data, because AI and data are the same thing. And so what are you trying to do? That is always the first key question. Then what you want to do, once you know what you want to do, you will identify what kind of information you need to address that. So what kind of data, which data will you need to achieve your use case? And so this is where the CDEs come into place. So the goal is to identify critical data elements that are based on the context of your use case. And this will sit in DataGalaxy, what we call the business glossary. And this is where we want to have a certified critical data elements within the company. So for this part, we will deep dive on this specific CDE part later. This is really the approach that I want to present to you. And so I will jump to the next step, because I will really deep dive on this later. Then once you have your use case, and once you have identified the data assets or CDEs that will help you, you can build, maintain, and publish data products in a marketplace. So the goal here is to provide basically everyone in the company, business users especially, with data products in a marketplace, that so they can browse the marketplace and they can see what products are available, who are responsible for it, what those data products do, what don't they do, and what can they do with them, and how it works, etc. So the metaphor I really love to bring up when we talk about data products is, let's say my use case is I need a new desk. My desk is broken, or it's too old, it's shaky, and I need a new desk. So that is my issue. Why do I need a new desk? Because maybe it's shaky, it's bad, maybe for my back it's not great, it's too small, whatever. So I need this new desk, and basically I have two options to do that. I can go to any kind of vendor. In Europe, we have IKEA, the Swedish brand that everyone loves, where you can basically browse their products. So you browse their marketplace, and there are plenty of models of desks, different colors, shapes, price, materials, etc. And all those products, they come with all the ingredients, all you have the table itself, you have the pillars that you can put the table on. You can also buy a chair if you want. And within the product, you have the tools and you have the manual. So you buy a box and you have everything you need to achieve your goal. But there is the other option where you want to build your own desk, and then you don't go to that store, you go to another one. And you're going to say, okay, I need 2 meters to 1 meter of wood, or a few feet of wood if you're in America. Sorry, I cannot do the conversion by hand, in my head right now. You need some surface of wood, you need screwdriver, you need a few screws, you need maybe light, whatever. So you're going to need those materials, you're going to need the tools, and then you need this mind map of, okay, I need to assemble it this way. So I need to drill maybe a few holes in my wood here and here and make sure that it's stable, etc. So this is not a product. You're building your own product, but you have to do all the steps to achieve that. And so the goal of a data product is basically the same. You don't want everyone in your company to have to buy raw wood and cut it and drill in it and do everything, because first of all, not everyone is qualified to do that. And second, not everyone wants to do that. Some people just want something off the shelf that is easy to use, ready to consume. And that's totally fine. It's the case for everyone, a lot of us actually. So it's really the same for the data. You have the raw data, the raw assets for the people that want to build stuff for themselves, that have the skills, the knowledge to do so. That's great. That's necessary. But then you have the marketplace of data products where everyone can just pick the products off the shelf that they need. And once you have finished and you have created those data products, then you can have the usage of those data products. And so it could be a business intelligence, BI, with some certified dashboards that supports a self-service approach. So the self-service era of reporting, it's Power BI, ClickSense, Tableau, and so on. So it's really supported with all those tools. It is even more true with the data products approach. And of course, you've got the AI. So what you want is, of course, your AI, but it doesn't have to be LLMs. It can also be machine learning. Good old traditional machine learning can be any kind of linear regression, random forest, etc., whatever. It doesn't have to be LLMs, but it's especially true for LLMs. You feed certified high quality data for your AI with metadata, especially. It's especially important if you're dealing with an AI agent and like agentic AI, LLMs, and so on. You want to give them the data and the metadata associated so they can understand the context and provide you the best value. So this very pragmatic approach here is, in my opinion, something that is really important to understand. Really always start with the strategy, the use case. Then you go to the glossary to determine your CDEs, you build data products thanks to those information that then feed your AI and your BI. To speak a little bit more on the CDE methodology. So CDE are critical data elements, as I said. There are data items that have a significant impact on the business or analytical process, and therefore require a high level of data quality control. So what does this mean? It means that the CD, if you have 1,000 data sets, you don't have 1,000 CDEs. The point of the CDEs is to really identify the essential elements. So the goal is to have not so much, ideally. So you really try to find out which ones are the most important for your business and for your organization. And so this methodology is really essential to focus efficiently and prioritize efficiently the data quality efforts on the data assets that are important and that are key to business process operations and technology groups. So what you want to do is focus the data quality, but also the governance and so on the data that really brings you the most value. And so how to achieve that? Well, the first step is to identify new data elements that are candidates for CDE status. So you have, based on, of course, the use cases that you have, you want to start a marketing campaign, you need customer emails, you identify candidates for CDE. Then you're going to have a scoring system that will help you determine in a very rational way, okay, is this data actually a CDE with these criteria? We're going to talk about the criteria just after. Yes, no, and then you can move on. Then once you have identified and scored your CDEs, you want to manage them, you want to manage the inventory, you want to, of course, have good quality, good governance on those CDEs, and then report the results, of course. Of course, then after that, you are going to monitor, you're going to update your CD inventory, you're going to make sure that it's well documented, it's well followed by your team, it's not abandoned, of course. And then regularly, it could be every 6 months, could be every year, you want to try to decommission CDEs when they become obsolete, because it is possible that some CDEs will become obsolete. They are maybe less critical as they used to be because your organization changed a little bit, because the data needs change a little bit. Could be anything. But basically, a CDE is not just certified one time and then it's a CDE forever. You want to make sure that it stays relevant and it brings you value consistently over time. So every 6 months, every 12 months, you want to restart the CDE campaign and restart this process to make sure that your critical data elements are still critical data elements. So that's a heavy slide, but here, this is an example of an identification principle that you can bring inside your company. So this is an example. You can always adjust this tool. So here, this applies to the first two steps that I showed you in the previous slide. This is the identification and then the scoring, especially for the scoring. So when you have CD candidates, what you can do is ask a few questions about the data element that you proposed. And then you can have a weight or scoring for each question. So here there is an example with 10 questions that you should ask yourself for every data element that you want to determine if it's a critical data element or not. Again, you can have the questions you want, you can have more questions, but 10 is already quite a lot. So maybe you don't want to put too much stress on your team. If you have 30 questions, they're probably going to say, no, I don't want to answer that. But you can have maybe less questions, can have 10. 10 could be interesting. And then, of course, the weights, you can adjust the weights depending on your organization, depending on how you function. So this is just an example. You can take that and try it yourself. And so then what happens is for every question, you're going to answer yes, no, or I don't know for each data element. And then you're going to apply the weight, of course, for each yes that you get. Then once you have answered all the questions, you're going to sum the weights. And the higher the score, the more the more you should prioritize that special CDE. And then again, so this could change depending on your organization, but then all data elements with a total score of 5 or higher are defined as CDEs. You could say it's not 5, could say it's 4, could say 6, 7, whatever. The goal is that it adapts to your company and your needs. And again, I can only insist, but you can also change the questions, the weights. This is just an example, but this is something that has been tested with multiple companies that we work with, and this brings value to them. So could be worth a shot. So I think now it is time for a quick demonstration of DataGalaxy and especially how it can uh, meet those smart data needs and how you can find and identify critical data elements and score them and then make sure that their critical lifecycle stays up to date. So let's jump into DataGalaxy right now. So, and I should say, to be precise, DataGalaxy Catalog, because DataGalaxy, we have two main tools, which are the catalog that I'm going to present to you today, but also the portfolio to manage your, data and AI initiatives. This is something that could be proposed in another webinar if you're interested. Let me know in the chat if you would like to learn more about DataGalaxy portfolio. So, once you're on DataGalaxy, what I'm going to do here is start by the end, technically, and show you what you can do once you have identified your critical data elements and how does it look when it's done. And then I'm going to show you how you actually do it and how you achieve it. So let's just go to the catalog and pick a report. So for example, this is the object card of a financial report named Financial Performance Overview, and it has plenty of associated metadata. So this is a financial report, the status is validated. So for example, this is really important in the catalog to know that this asset is validated. It gives that, so as a consumer of the catalog, I know I can have confidence and trust in the metadata that I see here. I have also contact points. I know that Martha White is the owner and the steward of this report. So if I have any question or any problem with this data item or the object card in the catalog, I can ping her to ask her some questions. And here I have more metadata inside, a textual description. What is the update frequency? It's updated daily. Some tags, a screenshot of my report, the classification. It is an internal report indeed, and I can even have a direct access to my Power BI report right there. So this is a global context. I really love that name, especially because it's kind of trendy, but it really gives context for both agents and users, human users, of, okay, what report am I looking at and what does it contain? But something that is really key and I would say really extremely valuable is the lineage. And so this is how it looks in DataGalaxy. So here we know how our report, Financial Performance Overview, is built on data. So here I have both the business lineage with the green objects, as you can see right there. So it means that my report uses some indicators such as gross margin and gross profit. And I have the definition here of what gross profit is. I have a description, a calculation formula, etc. So this is really key to understand how my indicators are calculated. And I also have all the blue assets, which are the technical assets of the catalog. So what happens is that I go all the way back up to the source data to say, okay, my field here, amount amortization, how is it built? Well, I can do the impact analysis here and highlight the journey of that data. And I know that it goes all the way back up to Salesforce and SAP, but I can also do it the other way around. I can do it downstream to say, okay, if I look at this KNA1 table in SAP, I want to see the path of customer ID, and then I see, okay, this goes in data factory, data blah, 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 and then to the enterprise data warehouse, and then it feeds my customer name. So the lineage is really extremely important because it's going to give me the information that if I have a quality issue here, I know where the data is coming from, but also if I need to decommission a table, decommission a data flow, or do some maintenance, I also know what would be impacted downstream. So we talked about data quality, and it is a key question, especially for critical data elements. And what we can do with Data Galaxy is integrate with data quality vendors such as, Big Eye, Siffle, Monte Carlo, Great Expectations, Soda, whatever. And we can, because Data Galaxy is a metadata tool, so we are not going to run the data quality ourselves, but we can integrate with them to retrieve the data quality informations. And so this is going to look like this. So here the data quality in Salesforce is okay, in SAP it's okay, everything's fine. Here it's okay in Postgre, but not this table. This table here has a critical error here. So let's take a look at how it looks. So here I have, again, my object cards. I see all the information, but then in the quality tab, I see that I have two data quality rules that are checking the data for both consistency and completeness. And if I take a look at the consistency one, I see that the rule is client code must be unique. So we've had some errors in the past, but no, everything is okay. Whereas the completeness one, client ID has to exist. Everything was fine except the last check where we've had several issues. And if I take a look, it actually comes from Siffle. So what I could do, if I have the access, I could go to Siffle and then maybe try to do some data quality remediation. So this is really key because my customer information table is identified as a critical data element. And so since the quality is in error, this is going to have a huge impact on my organization so that I can know, communicate with my colleagues and remediate this issue really quickly. So this is the end result. But how do we find out how to identify critical data elements? Well, for that, you're going to have multiple ways to do so. For example, what you can do is basically say, let's say that your emails in the company are really critical because the customer emails, they are used for marketing campaigns, they are used for storing personal data. So of course, it's kind of sensitive. They are used for many things. And you want to make sure that that customer emails are identified as critical data elements. But I don't know where to start because I don't exactly know. Someone told me we have a Snowflake, someone told me we have Databricks and so on. So I don't know exactly where to start. This is where, if you remember the approach and the framework that I showed, you want to start first with the business glossary. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I will just very naively type in email here. As you can see, I have plenty of results: Databricks, BigQuery, Snowflake, Power BI, Data Lake Gen 2. All of these are technical. What I want to do is filter or narrow my search on emails. And now here I see, okay, I find email address under a taxonomy of customers and customers. So these are the customer emails that I'm looking for. Here you see there is another email address, but it's under HR and employees, so it's probably not what I'm looking for. And of course, my colleagues' email are important, but maybe less critical, my customer emails. So what I want is access object card here. So you can have, again, plenty of metadata, the description, some tags, various tags of GDPR. So you can be compliant if necessary. And here you see that the CDE status is proposed. And then you can really move that CDE through various phases of status, can be enriched, validated, certified, and then decommissioned. So we're going to take a look at that just later. But something that is also very interesting, because as I said, after identifying the assets in your glossary, you want to build data products. But to build data products, you need technical assets. And how you're going to find technical assets to build your data products, where you're going to go in the implementation tab. And this is where you're going to say, okay, I can find customer emails in all those systems, in the enterprise data warehouse, in Salesforce, in Postgre, and in the MDM, and so on. And if I am looking for the most accurate, cleaned, up-to-date data, I can identify it with the golden link saying, okay, this is in the MDM customer repository where you're gonna have the most curated customer emails. So I want to follow this to maybe build my data product. Now, we have talked here about the CDE status as you see up there, but we haven't talked about the scoring. So this is what I want to show you. So in the governance module here in Data Galaxy, we can we can identify CDEs with a few. Sorry, I think. Okay, there is a translation issue, but it's okay. I will do it in English. We can identify CDEs. Oh, there you go. We can identify CDEs with some policies here, and the policies they basically. Okay, sorry. The screenshot is in French, but this is basically the table that I just showed you earlier. So we have all these questions, and these questions we can have them here under the bigger policy of the CD identification. So, for example, does your data element contain personal data? And then the weight is 2. Again, as I told you, you can change it. Was your data element identified as a CDE by the data domain expert? This is the highest weight. It's a weight 5. So this could help you really find out and score your CDEs. But then this is where a drawing or a schema really helps more than assets in a catalog. This is where the diagram function comes into play. And so the goal here is I try to follow the same colors as in the table. This is something you can do yourself. So here I put the weight the weight at 5 in his own category here. All the weights at 2 are here in orange, and then the weight at 1, so the lower weights, are in green here. And the goal is to be, okay, well, how do I score my potential CDEs? Well, what I'm going to do is basically go in my business glossary and say, okay, I'm going to look for emails, and here I see my email address right there. I'm going to put it on stage, and I'm going to try to score it here in a very, very visual way. So, for example, does my customer email address, has it been identified by a CDE, by a data domain expert? Yes. So let's say, okay, it is the case. It is external regular, maybe no. Contain personal data, yes. Is it required to link data? Yes. It's used for no negative impact on customers. Yes, of course. And let's say also direct impact on customers. Yes. So here, in the end, then you can do some math. So you have 1, 3, 5, 7, and then 12. So here the total score is 12. So of course, if you put the threshold at 5, it means that this data element here is a CDE. So then what we want to do is put it as well as maybe some assets, through a CDE validation workflow. So this is the last bit of presentation. So what I can do is create a CDE validation. Oops, sorry. Let's just put the same name as a description here. And this is not what I want to do. And use the critical data element certification. So once we have created this campaign, what I can do is actually, I can go back to the diagram to really show the flow here. What I can do is add this object to a campaign. So CDE validation here, I will add my email address to a campaign. And I could have also created a campaign right here, but it's really the same. And then let's add another email maybe. Let's take the HR one, employee, email info, email address. Email address, there we go. So I'm not going to do scoring for this one, it's just for the example, and I'm going to add it to the very same campaign of CDE validation. So now my CDE validation has 2 assets to be validated. And so what is going to happen? So for this one, I'm going to say that the CDE status is proposed. And so there we go. So now I am at the very beginning of the campaign. It's a new campaign. The assets are proposed. So what I need now is to start to enrich my objects. So now, okay, I have something to do. An action is required from Marta, who is the steward of this object, because she's going to need to fill out some information about those assets. So she's going to type in some information and say, okay, now this is enriched. This is okay. And now this assets that is in CD status of enrich says, okay, this is fine. I can move on to the next stage, but not this one. And once this one, as long as this one is not done yet, I cannot move to the next phase, which is the CDO validation. So again, for the sake of the example, I'm going to quickly show you. It's enriched. So this is great. Now I can move on to the next phase. Now again, it's the CDO, it's me. And then we have to move on until the end of the validation. That's it for the DataGalaxy presentation. So let me quickly go back here to the presentation. So to wrap this webinar, we're gonna have a bit of time to answer any kind of questions that you could have. So please feel free to write the questions in the chat. In the meantime, if you want to have more information and maybe have further explanation with DataGalaxy, feel free to scan this QR code or access this URL right there. And I will also, in a few seconds, send a poll. So just to have some feedback from you about this webinar. So we have a bit of time left. So if there are any questions or remarks, feel free to ask any question in the chat. I will be glad to answer you. And if it was very clear, I'm also happy to hear it. So I think there are no questions. It is 4:45 at least in France. I think on the east coast of the US, going to be 10:45. So well, that's a wrap for me. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I was happy to be able to present that to you. If you want any follow-up, feel free to scan this QR code, add me on LinkedIn, follow DataGalaxy's page, and maybe see you soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself and thank you for your attendance.